Here's Precal problem 10-58, which has a typo. Yeah. So it wants you to solve the system of equations, but they threw a little y in there. And I just assumed it was a typo and turned it into a t and did the problem. And it's true that it is a typo. That's supposed to be a t right there. So if it's like that in your book, oh, I didn't check in your book. Maybe that's why someone asked this question. So when I did it, I didn't look at the answer key. I just did a system of equations, and then when I did look at the answer key, I saw they did it a system of equations with matrices. I just thought to do it this way, system of equations. So I started out. These are my three equations that I started out with. I have R's, S's, and T's, but this one doesn't have a T. But these two have R's, S's, and T's, so I can do substitution or elimination on them. I wanted to make sure I got rid of the T because this one only has R's and S's in it. So I just multiplied the top one by 2 so that the T would cancel out. And so I'll show how I did that. If I multiply each of these by 2, 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 2 is 4. Well, negative 1 times 2 is negative 2, and 2 times 8 is 16. And then I just brought this one underneath, and I added them together, and I got the 12 and the 3. And so now I have two equations with two unknowns, so that's pretty easy to solve. I just decided to do substitution, so I went ahead and I solved this one for R. I should have solved it for S because it's hard writing those S's. I solved it for R, and then I plugged R into this one right here. So I went 12 times, that's R, plus 3, right, that's a S, 3S equals 18, and then I distributed, and then what did I do there? Combine like terms. I divided through by 9. I probably didn't have to do that. I could have just subtracted, but I thought it would be fun to divide through by 9, and then I could just tell that S was 2, because 4 minus 2. So there's S. So then when I knew what S was, I plugged it right here, and I said, well, 3 minus 2, that is 1, so R must be 1. And then now I knew what R and S were, and I had to find somewhere to plug them in for T, so I think I just plugged them in this one right here. I said 6 times 1, because R is 1, 6 times 1 is 6, minus S was 2, plus 2T equals 2. So I just plugged it in up there. And then I just combine like terms, and T is negative 1. So here's the three answers. You can probably, I don't know, that seemed pretty easy. That's the first thing that occurred to me when I saw it, but you can also do it somewhat easily with a matrix, but you'd have to bust out your Desmos graphing calculator. So to do it with a matrix, you just take the coefficients. See how I have a 3, a 2, and a negative 1? 3, 2, negative 1. And then this thing is 8. And these are R's. Well, RST, this ends up being, here's your three solutions right here. But these are just the coefficients, like 6, negative 1, 2, see? And then 1, 1, 0. And then what you do is you find the inverse matrix of this. We don't do that by hand. It can be done, but you guys haven't even been taught. You just put this in your matrix calculator in Desmos, and you get the inverse matrix. And then you multiply it by on both sides. So when you multiply it on the left, that goes away and leaves you RST by itself. And when you multiply it on the right, it looks like this. That's the I mean, it looks like the same one, but they're saying it's the inverse because it's got all the little decimals probably in it that you don't want to see. times this column matrix. That'll give you your answer matrix. So if you like systems of equations, just old-fashioned algebra, you can do it that way, because it didn't tell you how you had to do it. If you really love your Desmos matrix calculator, then you can do it that way.